Hello again, Metters, and welcome back to my updated Icy Rain build. With the latest updates shaking things up, Frost Vortex has seen some major changes to the way both the gun and armor functions. Naturally, I've had to revisit the build to see how Icy Rain stacks up against the current meta, and let me tell you, I was thoroughly surprised. So sit back, grab a whimsical drink, and let's dive right in. So to start things off, let's take a look at the changes to Icy Rain itself and how they differ from the old version. Previously, Icy Rain had a 40% chance to trigger Frost Vortex on a critical hit. After triggering Frost Vortex, it would automatically refill 15% of your bullets. And finally, it gave you a maximum number of Frost Vortexes +1. Now with the new update, Icy Rain works a little differently. It now has a 30% chance to trigger Frost Vortex on critical hits. Whilst that's a 10% drop from before, the way Frost Vortex functions now, this change isn't really a problem. After triggering Frost Vortex, refill 20% of your bullets. So here we have gained an extra 5%, which really allows this gun to be used with the assault style calibration now more efficiently. And finally, again, because of the new Frost Vortex rework, we are only allowed to have one Frost Vortex at a time on the field. However, this one Frost Vortex is stronger than 3 of the old ones. And to replace the Frost Vortex +1 count, we gain a 30% flat damage buff to your Frost Vortex damage. Now let's take a look at the Frost Vortex changes. Before the update, Frost Vortex created a track with a 4.5 meter radius that dealt 30% psi intensity as status damage every second for 4 seconds, totaling 4 ticks. This meant each Frost Vortex dealt 120% psi intensity in total. And since you could have up to 2 Vortexes active at once, the maximum potential damage was 240% psi intensity. After the update, Frost Vortex still has a 4.5 meter radius, but now it deals 50% psi intensity every 0.5 seconds for 4 seconds, resulting in 8 ticks. This brings the total damage per Vortex to 400% psi intensity. However, you can now only have one Vortex active at a time. Despite this limitation, the overall damage output is significantly higher, an increase from 240% to 400%, which is roughly 66% more total damage. On top of that, Frost Vortex can now be generated in mid-air, and the damage is applied instantly upon creation, making it far more responsive and deadlier than before. For the calibration, there's 2 you can choose from, Assault Style and Heavy Style, both with crit rate. I decided to go for the Assault Style, as with the new update, getting the 20% back on the magazine means I ain't got to worry about having as much ammunition in the magazine, but that is personal preference. So I am running an Assault Style with attack +20%, magazine capacity of -25, and accuracy of -50, with a double crit rate suffix. For my accessories, I'm using small compensator for my muzzle, compact reflex sight for my optic, elite vertical grip for my tactics, weighted SMG mag for my magazine, and disintegrating SMG AP ammunition. This gives me a grand total stability of 47, accuracy of 57, range of 21, and a reload speed of 56. Next is our secondary weapon. I've chosen to use the D50 Wildfire. 60% chance to trigger the bullseye when hitting a target. Has an 80% chance to spread the bullseye to one enemy within a 15 meter area when hitting marked enemies. If there are no enemies within the area, weapon damage +25% for 10 seconds. When hitting a weak spot of marked enemies, attack +3% for 10 seconds, up to 3 stacks. For the calibration, you want to run Rapid Shot Style for fire rate +25%, magazine capacity +40%, and attack -15 with a double weak spot suffix. And for the accessories, I'm running Assault Brake for the muzzle, compact reflex sight for the optic, integrated laser sight for my tactics, extended pistol mag for the magazine, and tungsten pistol AP ammunition. This gives me a grand total stability of 53, accuracy of 100, range of 43, and reload speed of 60. For my melee weapon, I am using a Kukuri knife. Defeating the target grants all weapons attack +30% and crit rate +15% for 10 seconds. And when defeating an enemy with a heavy strike, psi intensity +20% and restores HP by 200% of psi intensity. Next, let's see how the gun fares in damage testing. During my raw damage testing, I managed to hit a maximum DPS of 54,000. And as you can see, I can consistently fire the Icy Rain without needing to reload. thanks to an extra 5% reload speed from the new buff. This is exactly why I chose to use the assault calibration over the heavy calibration. Sure, there will be times when you still need to reload, but being able to pump out this many bullets while gaining an extra 20% attack is absolutely worth it in my opinion. Here you can take a look at my raw stats. Next, we're going to damage test when fully buffed. Next, for the fully buffed damage test, I went all in and used Polar Jelly as the Deviant. As you can see, I was able to hit a maximum DPS of 315,000 and consistently maintain over 200,000 DPS, only dropping for a brief second. This shows just how strong the updated Icy Rain build can be when everything is optimized. Next, we're switching up and using the Lunar Oracle Snow Sprite instead of Polar Jelly. The reason is simple. Polar Jelly is best for stationary targets, while Snow Sprite excels in scenarios like silos and large ag-dense areas. With this setup, I managed to hit a total DPS peak of 231,000 and an overall total damage of 1,673,914. Here you can see my stats when fully buffed. Next is the Cradle. Feel free to pause at any time to read what they state. I'd like to take a quick moment to give a massive thank you to all my old and new subscribers, as well as everyone who's been watching my videos. I truly appreciate all the feedback and support you've given. It really means a lot. If you haven't yet subscribed and you're enjoying the content, consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more Once Human guides. On that note, let's jump back in and continue. So now let's take a look at the foods and the drinks that we can use to really maximize the DPS of the Icy Rain. For the first food buff, I'm running mixed fried hot dog, used to increase damage by 20% towards enemies affected by the bullseye. For this, you'll need any one piece of meat, 2 deviated mushrooms, and 2 corn oil. I advise using deer meat as it gives you an extra 2% damage against enemies affected by bullseye. If you can, try and get hold of the Mimeric Advanced Stove Gourmand for the following buffs. Dishes made at the Advanced Stove gain base effect plus 30%, effect duration plus 50%, and crafting time of minus 50%. Next, we have canned minty meat, used to increase frost damage by 15%. I chose this over honey glazed meat as I was able to produce more and consistent DPS running the canned minty meat. To make this, you'll need 1 deviated mint, any meat of your choice. Ideally, you can use cow meat or beef to get 2% extra in frost, but I don't currently have one available, so I'm using deer meat for an extra 2% on vulnerability, 2 pickles, and 3 aluminum ingots. Next, for our drink buffs, we're using Whimsical Drink, used to gain 25% status damage bonus. For this, you'll need 1 deviated saffron, 1 normal saffron, 5 purified water, and 5 ice cubes. As mentioned before, there's a couple ways to increase these buffs even further. So, Advanced Stove Gourmand, again, dishes made at the stove gain a base effect of plus 30%, effect duration plus 50%, and crafting time of minus 50%. But especially with Whimsical Drink, you want to get hold of the Ice Treat Brain Freeze. Ice Treat effect duration plus 200% and a potency of plus 30%. And for the last buff, I'm using Stardust Energy Drink, used to gain the double jump ability for 30 seconds. For this, you'll need 2 saffron, 5 purified water, 5 sugar, and 3 aluminum ingots. So the reason to why I'm running Stardust Energy Drink is because when you activate the double jump, you can activate the tactical leap from your cradle. For every 1 second spent airborne, gain 20% damage against Deviants and 10% damage against their shields for 3 seconds, up to 60 seconds. Next, let's take a look at the Deviants and the Polar Jelly in particular, as this has had a rework with the latest Frost update. So let's take a look at the Polar Jelly. The old Polar Jelly gave you continuously deals frost status damage to surrounding enemies and forces them to move towards you, increasing frost damage received by surrounding targets by 36%. If frost vortexes are summoned inside the radius, create additional ice spikes. So with the update, everything stays the same, but they've gave us a 3.2% increase. So now we get 39.2%. Our second deviant is the Snow Sprite. I'm using the Lunar Oracle version. Generate ice crystals near the target every 3 seconds. Ice crystals shatter when shot, dealing 100% frost damage to nearby targets and causing them to take plus 48% frost damage. Again, I like to use the Snow Sprite when I'm running silos and at dense locations, and the Polar Jelly for when you're running against stationary targets. So now let's take a look at some armor set combinations that really benefit the style of this gun. So for the first armor set, it's going to be Treacherous Tides. For a 3-piece, we get weapon damage reduction of 10%. When HP is below 70%, weapon damage and status damage plus 12%. And the HP reduction from low sanity is decreased by 40%. Weapon and status damage plus 10% and further increases as your sanity drops, up to 28% at 30% max sanity. For our next set, we're going to pair 2-piece Lone Wolf. For magazine capacity bonus of 10%, which aids in our 20% recovered from the second perk of the gun, and crit rate of plus 5%. And for the key armor, I'm going to be running the Frost Tactical Vest. So the old version, Frost Vortex generates ice spikes that do 100% psi intensity as frost damage. So with the rework, they gave us an extra 20%. So now we get 120% psi intensity. So now let's take a look at the mods that we're paired with the armor sets. So for the Icy Rain, I decided to run the Cryo Catalyst with the Frost Vortex suffix. Frost Vortex damage plus 10% after triggering a Frost Construct, Ice Spike, Ice Missile or Ice Crystal. Frost Vortex damage plus 5% for 6 seconds. Ideally, you want to aim for the aptitude effects that I'm showing at the moment. Frost Vortex damage, Frost damage, and then any 2 types of damage against enemies. For my D50 Wildfire, I've decided to run Vulnerability Amplifier with the Precision suffix. The bullseye adds vulnerability plus 8%. For my Helmet mod, I'm running Faithful Strike with the Lunar suffix. Cannot deal weak spot damage, crit rate plus 10% and crit damage plus 30%. With the aptitude effects of damage against normal enemies plus 6%. The lower your HP, the higher your crit damage up to 30%. The lower your HP, the higher your weapon damage up to 9.6%, and max HP of plus 4.8%. For the Mask mod, I'm running Frost Construct with the Frost Vortex suffix. Frost Constructs, Ice Spikes, Ice Missiles, Ice Crystals deal plus 10% damage. If the target is in Frost Vortex status, damage dealt plus 10%. With the aptitude effects of Frost Vortex damage plus 6%, damage against elite enemies plus 3%, head damage reduction plus 3.2%, and frost damage plus 4.8%. For the chest mod, I'm running Ardent Shield with a Lunar suffix. While the shield is active, you gain 15% damage reduction. When the shield exceeds 1,000 single instances of damage, it will not penetrate the shield. Aptitude effects. The lower your HP, the higher your weapon damage up to 9.6%. Max HP plus 3.6%. Damage against Great Ones plus 3.6%. And the lower your HP, the higher your crit damage up to 30%. For my legs mod, I'm running Deadshot Violent. Each crit hit by non-melee weapons grant plus 5% crit damage, up to 45%. The effect is removed upon the next reload, with the aptitude effects of crit damage plus 15%, damage against elite enemies plus 4.5%, damage against Great Ones plus 3.6%, and weapon damage plus 6%. It's important to make sure that you can get your crit damage and your weapon damage as high as possible when running a violent suffix. For the gloves mod, you want to run crit boost with the violent suffix, with the crit rate plus 15%. Again, make sure your crit damage and your weapon damage can be as high as possible, with the aptitude effects of crit damage plus 15%, weapon damage plus 3.6%, damage against normal enemies plus 10%, and weapon damage reduction plus 3.6%. And for my feet mod, I'm running Rush Hour with the violent suffix. Every 10% HP loss grants plus 4% melee, weapon, and status damage, with the aptitude effects of crit damage plus 15%, damage against Great Ones plus 2.4%. head damage reduction plus 6.4%, and weapon damage plus 6%. And with that being said, we've reached the end of my IC Rain build guide. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it helpful. I wanted to give a massive thank you to everyone who stayed and watched until the end, and to all my subscribers, both old and new. I truly appreciate you spending your time watching my content. If you haven't yet subscribed, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more Once Human guides and tips. Stay safe, metas, and stay frosted.